Sales strategy framework for FedEx, integrating express and ground sales for enhanced performance. My name is Samantha Darby and I am representing Team 3. Express, specializing in shipments via air. In the 1990s, however, with the introduction of the World Wide Web and emails replacing printed documents, FedEx had to shift its processes in order to stay relevant and competitive against UPS and the USPS. In 1998, FedEx acquired Caliber Systems, specifically the segment RPS, which specializes in ground delivery, is what we now know as FedEx Ground. Additionally, in 2000, Project Arise started, which stands for Achieving Revenue and Information Technology Synergies Across the Enterprise. The reason for these changes was so that FedEx could stay relevant, improve efficiency, the customer experience, and of course, revenue growth. Segments that are part of FedEx organizational structure, and they were very much operating in silos, having multiple reps, contracts, etc. per one client. And then you see the transition have streamlined contracts, you have your sales rep that are cross-trained, and it's a much smoother experience as things are streamlined within FedEx for the clients. Is redefine the customer segments. Previously, the segments were by the department, whether express, ground, etc., and it didn't really allow the sales or what have you to operate in any way but within that department. So redefining the segments, you have your large enterprise corporations like Chrysler, who are going to have varying levels of needs, and they're going to differ than the small business, for example, who might solely be focused on ground. So really it was shifting the customers and finding out what their needs were, and obviously meeting to serve those needs. Is the unified sales team. In the past, if, say, Chrysler, for example, needed a part shipped via ground and then also via air, say to another location in a different state, Chrysler had to have two contracts, two sales reps that they dealt with, whereas the new strategy, all of that would be combined. It would be one contract and all the needs would be met and negotiated once. They would only have to know one rep. So that was really essential in increasing the customer satisfaction. And of course, this meant the reps had to cross-train, express with ground. And I think one aspect of what the ground FedEx team was doing was really carrying over traditions and processes from when the corporation was RPS, which had different company goals, etc. So again, it was a combination of, or a combining of efforts from the express, which was the air and ground sales forces, and then not only cross training, but then also kind of looking at clients via the segment profiles that they fit into. And then of course there was some division within that customer segment by location, and who was going to work on the existing clientele versus seeking and procuring new clients. So really dividing. Obviously you want to keep the clients you have happy, and then try to bring new clients in as well. Revolution that the Project Arise was having within FedEx, really what this meant for the end user, the client, is you now had a one-stop shipping solution, so you didn't have to deal with multiple reps or different departments, and you could trust the on-time delivery. The FedEx was one of the most reliable. I think it was 97% reliability, committing obviously to the time. And the tracking was the lead as well. This was something that the U.S. Postal Service really lacked, and sometimes that was a competitor because of the cost efficiency, but they were unreliable on time, and there was no tracking. So FedEx has maintained its posture in being the lead, and now with the way that they were repackaging everything, they were also being able to offer competitive pricing for integrating various services. So you now have price and value happening, and you have the integration of various products. When you consider that the sales reps were used to their own clients, say in Express and in Ground, and now they're having to cross train. Really, you have to motivate your employee to now learn another thing, and then potentially lose out on their clients if people from Express are coming to Ground to take those clients. So one aspect that needed to be redefined is the compensation structure, and I think if you looked at it from a perspective of, I have had these, say, 10 clients, and now if I cross-sell them the air shipment, say I was Ground, and now I'm cross-selling them the air, I now have my 10 clients who are producing the sales compensation, my bonus, as if they were 20. So I think it was a way of, it seems like more work because you're having to learn other key features of another department, but ultimately I think it's important to keep your sales team motivated to want to do the work, of course, and having performance-based incentives. That all ties into one of the overall goals of starting Arise, which is obviously revenue growth. And of course there were prestigious like award levels for selling certain, being the top 5%, like the President's Club. So things like that would continue because it was competitive. They were really great. Everybody talked about how great it was being in the President's Club. And then of course, something that's really huge, I think, in any corporation is allowing there to be an opportunity for growth. And not only does that mean, okay, someone wants a better paying job and you promote them, great, but how are you building the ladders for that to occur within your company? How are you home growing your leaders, etc. A new sales process and how you're engaging with your clients. Of course, data-driven, analyzing patterns, especially if you're looking at certain clients who are in one geographical area and say they're on the West Coast and they traditionally send things to the East Coast for, whatever reason. So what does that look like? What are some of the quicker methods that, you can ensure delivery? How can you deliver on the client's needs based on what the data shows? Joint sales calls. This was, I think, something that had to be done in the initial stages of this happening, because you're not going to have an expert in ground overnight into an expert in express. So this was a transition to have the customer feel the difference sooner rather than later. So unifying that experience for the client and still being able to pull in an expert from another area. And of course, consultative. I'm not going to get that word. We're going to move on. Understanding customers' logistics and being able to offer solutions. I really see this as something vital in small business. They have so many things to manage and they don't have necessarily the resources and capacity to be able to figure out maybe some of these things. So having the sales rep come in and offer solutions is super valuable. And I think the last one here is really what FedEx has had from the beginning, is creating and keeping their relationships with their clients. So really, I think that's been a strength of FedEx all along. It has just been multiple relationships with multiple reps, whereas the goal was to streamline it to the one or two potentially in those joint calls. Technology and integration. This was a huge need, and as the internet and things have continued to evolve and progress, individuals, clients being able to take care of their needs quickly online, set up things automatically, being able to track what they have, in transition, that self-service. Sometimes, someone who's running a business doesn't have time to stop, make a phone call, and chase things down. And this is huge in FedEx being able to capitalize on serving more clients by giving them an option, a self-service tool to empower them to find what they need, when they need it, how they need it. So that was really important, and I think why they were still able to stay competitive against the U.S. Postal Service and, of course, UPS. Have to have competitive positioning. How are we staying relevant? How are we, beating our competitors? So with UPS, who has a history of leading ground delivery, how can we top them? By combining our express and their ground. Obviously there's one avenue, but what is our sales process? What is our service looking like? How are we offering, international expansion for our clients? So it's capitalizing and capturing the growth in certain market segments and being able to forecast and look at that. And of course, being that FedEx was born in 1973, there's years of recognition of the name, a reputation for being innovative, and of course, us making the promise to deliver your package and doing so. streamlining our sales structure to enhance efficiency, both internally and for our clients, incentivizing cross-selling so that further drives the growth of our revenue, utilizing technology and continuing to leverage it as technology advances. I'm thinking AI here, that ultimately improves the customer experience. And of course, the next is, implementation and tracking our performance and improving where we need. Thank you.